right, we'll call this meeting of the Freeman School Board to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call.
Emily?
Yes.
Cody Franson?
Yep.
Doug?
Yes.
Krista?
Yes.
Curtis Stengler?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I will require a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Doug, do I have a second?
I'll second
Second by Cody Franson, all in favor say aye.
that.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, conflict of interest disclosures, I have received none.
None here.
Next item on the agenda, public input.
There was none.
Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Will require a motion to approve the following: the minutes of the regularly scheduled school board meeting of October 19th, 2022, the minutes of the Cornwall Cooperative Board of Advisors meeting of October 19th, 2022, the resignation of Chris Seiler from the position of assistant football coach, and we thank him for his service, financial reports, and claims. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Carissa, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cody Spangler, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, administrative report, starting with the elementary principal.
We didn't have a lot going on at the elementary. We have 22 students participating in the SAT Pack program, and that's run by the Bethany Church and the food pantry. So families sign up, we send a sack of food home with them on Fridays. We handed out free snow boots to families that requested snow boots. I had a little girl that just came from Guatemala, and I tried to give her snow pants and snow boots, and she didn't want them. But I'm gonna guess if I asked her this week, she's probably appreciative that she has them.
Right.
We have plenty of clothing that was donated to the elementary, but we are short on winter coats. So if there's anyone out there that has any used winter coats that are still in good shape, we'd gladly take them at the elementary. We have a joint Christmas concert with the high school on December 8th. So the elementary will start at 6:30. I think they're gonna do a short intermission for the elementary parents to pick up their kids and leave if they want to, and the ones can stay that they want to, and then it'll be followed by the high school. Third grade, we had quite a bit of illness last week, but our third grade was just walloped. I had 15 kids sick in third grade last week. Some of them were out the entire week. We had 12 gone in one day, and as far as I know, we only had one confirmed COVID case out of those 15 sick kids. I figured it had to be COVID when they all came down at that same time. I think we had strep, we had influenza, we had COVID, we had who knows what all, but probably should have looked at closing that grade at the end of last week. On the bottom is a press release from the Lions Club. Jackson Bookman was the local winner of the Lions International Peace Poster Contest. And then there's some other sixth grade participants that also that participated and will receive $5 in Freeman bucks. That's all I have. Kind of quiet.
Great.
One.
Thanks, Shane. All right, next on the agenda is the high school principal report.
Congratulations to Thor Onitz, he moves to Region Orland tomorrow with his oratory piece. I got to listen to that today. It's really good. I don't know, oratory is not always the most interesting, but he does a great job of making it interesting, so I'm hopeful that he will advance. Congratulations to our volleyball team too. They will play at 11:30 on Thursday versus Warner at the state tournament. There will be a send-off on Wednesday morning, and then there is a fan bus scheduled for each day. Mr. TG has agreed to drive that every day. I think we maybe have about 5 or 6 on there at this point. They have until Wednesday to sign up, and then I just got the dress up days today for those 3 days at state. So Thursday will be pajama day, Friday will be redneck camo day, and Saturday will be blackout or flyer gear, whatever you have. The state shirts is the day that they would like you to wear those on Saturday. So, and then we did have Alyssa Dent complete her senior project, and we had NAMI come and present to the students, and I think that went well. I think, you know, those that needed to hear it or wanted to hear it, it was good for them, and so I thought that was good. Our seniors have ordered their caps and gowns for graduation through Jobston, so that's exciting. And then junior high ball has started, so that's good. We gained a new senior student, and we also gained a new 7th grade student since last time, so 2 new students. We did have 1 student, go out homeschool today, but we've gained 2, so we're up 1, I would say. Quarter 1 is complete, the honor roll will be released, this week sometime. And then, we did have a trip to Mitchell Tech that was limited to only seniors due to busing, so it was juniors and seniors who were supposed to go, and then the minibus wasn't working, so we just limited it to seniors since they're the ones who need to be choosing sooner than juniors. But, Mrs. Sweeter will reschedule that for the juniors to go at a different time, so they'll still get to go, it just didn't happen on that particular day. And then parking in the high school lot and off the curb during evening hours and weekends is somewhat of a challenge. So if you come up here on the weekends or evenings, you've got cars lined up on the curb, which is hilarious because they're coming to work out, but then they have to park as close to the building as they can, right? So we want that curb to be free unless you're in your vehicle and ready to pull away, because obviously if something happens, we need the fire department to be able to park there. So just a reminder for adults and students to not be parking on that curb. Use that giant parking lot that we have.
Mornings too, because every time
Mornings
we're
too.
dropping off kids at junior high basketball, there's 3 or 4 cars parked right in the front of the
Parked,
park.
yeah, yeah,
Pretty sure I know who to. So.
yeah. So FYI on that, there's a reason for why we do that, or why we want that to be clear, so.
Are you announcing that with your morning announcement?
We can do it again, but
I think it's more of a
adult,
adult issue,
yeah.
the cars I see.
Have the cops went through in the morning.
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah,
They're gonna stop?
Send Daryl towing it through there and clean them out.
so just an FYI on that, but other than that, that's what I got.
Awesome. Great, next is the superintendent administrative report.
Included in your packet is the superintendent updates, and the first item on there would be the ARP ESSER Homeless Children and Youth Consortium Agreement Grant. That would be the next document that's right after the superintendent updates, and what this is a grant opportunity through the Corn Belt Cooperative, something that would allow us to hopefully secure about $10,000, and that would be for a variety of things, anything that would pertain to educating staff on homeless children and the needs that would come with that title of being homeless. Professional development is one of the things that it can be used for, so at our last Corn Belt Superintendent meeting, one of the recommendations that I made, there wasn't a whole lot of interest amongst the districts, and I pointed out that it could be used for professional development and ask people to reconsider, and then we take that $10,000 and we provide professional development opportunities for all the districts, central location at Corn Belt Cooperative, but with $10,000 you can bring in a pretty good professional development activity. Variety of different things that we could bring in, doesn't necessarily have to be specifically catered to homeless children. Could be something like trauma-informed schools training, which is a very good training. Our counselor, Chris Sweeter, has been through that training, but it would give us an opportunity if we decided to go that route with the cooperative to send some staff there to be trained and then bring that information back. We don't necessarily have the opportunity to train our entire staff, but if we send some people, it could have the trainer type of a concept for those staff to come back and present to our staff. Next item is Phoenix Co-op Advisory Meeting. We spoke as the superintendents for the 3 districts and the head AD, and we decided that even though in our new cooperative agreement, it states that we would have a meeting at the start of the school year and the end of the school year. And that was brought in when we adopted softball into the Phoenix Co-op. What we decided this year, since it's brand new, that it would probably be a good idea to have a after-season meeting, and Brad Behrens from Marion, Superintendent Marion, brought up that we probably want to get away from that title of it being a joint task force meeting. It's more of an advisory board moving forward now, because this group of people would be presenting information back to the school boards and advising the school boards into what direction we should be going, if there's any changes that would be recommended to the Phoenix Co-op. The list that we came up with would be still the 2 board members, so something that I would ask the board tonight is to discuss which 2, and it could be up to 2 board members. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2, but we should have board representation on this advisory board. So I would recommend 2, and then the ADs for each of the districts, the head coach, so we're, in this case, we'd be meeting to discuss the Phoenix Football Co-op, so it'd be the head coach for football. If we decide to do the same thing after the softball season this spring, obviously do the softball coach, or if we decided to in the spring, since it's the end of the year, if we combined and did both of them and did the end of the year, we certainly could have both head coaches present at the same time as well. And then Brad recommended that we have an administrative representative, not necessarily the superintendent representative, just because there could be change that's presented with the superintendent position. If we title it administrator, it could be principal, it could be superintendent, that could be part of that, but having one representative from each district as an administrative representative. We discussed dates. We thought that November 28th would be the best date. So I also asked the board tonight to make a decision on which date would work best for your calendars. The reason that we picked the 28th as the most ideal date is it gives us 2 weeks prior to that meeting to get things prepared. And then more importantly, it gives the advisory board members 2 weeks after that meeting to process before you would present back to the rest of the school board. But a close second for dates would be that December 5th. We decided to keep it on Mondays. Mondays seem to be one of the better dates for not being intruding on church events and fewer amount of activities that happen on Monday evenings. Time is not listed on there, but would be negotiable for that, but what we discussed was that 7 o'clock time frame that we've used in the past for this type of meeting. So I will leave it up to the board to discuss the date and any other information that you'd like to discuss.
I think back in our July meeting, we reassigned, well, I think it's still Doug and I, but I know that we voted on those task force members, so we'd probably keep that the same unless you're opposed, Doug. Okay. I don't know about November 28th or December 5th. I can make either one work.
Good with either?
Okay. So I'll let them know the 28th works, and if there's conflicts with the other groups, we can, sounds like we would be okay if we switch to the December 5th as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Time is at 7 o'clock, time frame work for?
Sounds fine.
Okay. All right, so next thing I had on my list, the SPN update. I was able to finally connect with Jeff McCormick from SPN. Reached out to him, a while ago, like everybody else in that industry is extremely busy, but we need to continue to work towards a solution for our front entry to make sure that we are taking steps to making sure we're remaining ADA compliant. Some of the ideas that Jeff came up with is, and he's gonna have some drawings, so you won't have to view my hand gestures. I'll actually have something physically to present to you as soon as he presents those to me. But right now, he's looking at 2 different paths, one being that would angle straight out perpendicular from the current walkway up to the building, and then angle over just on the other side of the light pole that's out there. And then the second option that he came up with was just extending the sidewalk, the current sidewalk that's there, but to have a buffer in between the current sidewalk and the new sidewalk. We felt that it was enough further away from the building, there was lesser of a slope to where that would help us to meet ADA compliance. There's the first about 20 feet out of the building is at the ADA compliance slope. It's right after that first 20 feet that it goes over that 2 inches.
Okay.
So that's where we could have that top landing pad and go connecting with our existing sidewalk there, and would still remain compliant there. So if we did run it right next to the existing sidewalk, he recommended that we have that buffer in between where we'd have some landscaping, just because we have the existing sidewalk being heated. The new sidewalk would, unless the board decided to make that heated as well, but it would be significantly more difficult. I don't know if you could even tie into that current system or not, but if it were heated, non-heated, we would have that same issue that we had at the end, where last winter when we had about that 3-inch heave that was happening, where the heat sidewalk connected with the existing sidewalk. So pros and cons to each of those options, but when I have those, like I said, when I have those drawings from him, I'll present those to the board at one of our future meetings. We have offered for the position of head strength coach to a candidate, and they have verbally accepted. We was not on the consent agenda tonight because we do not have a contract yet, but the plan is either later this week or early next week that individual will come in to sign a contract, so we're excited for that. And right now, we're tentatively planning on that this individual would start after Thanksgiving. We have ALICE training is something that we've talked about in our cabinet meetings as an administrative group, something we identified in August of a need for the district to go back and look at our crisis policy and emergency policies, and having an ALICE training is a big part of that. So I have reached out to one of our local state troopers that does provide ALICE training, and we're waiting to hear dates. Of course, the date that worked with the schedule was this Friday, and we have some very exciting stuff happening this Friday that will not allow us to have that training this Friday, but hopefully one of the Flyer Fridays in the future here, we'll be able to bring him in for, it's about a 2-hour training is what I understood for our staff. This is something that is just an informational item, something that will be an action item for the December meeting, but I wanted to inform the board that I had a conversation with Jeremy Waltner. He had proposed an idea of activity photographs that the district would pay him a stipend, and then all the photos that he takes for any activities, being sporting events or any other activities that we have going on at school, that he would post them on his website, and then parents would have the opportunity to go to his website and download those pictures for free. So it'd be a really nice opportunity to provide this for our parents, and the pictures won't exactly be free, but you can download that and then bring it to Walmart and then pay to have them printed. Would be a nice option. So very interesting idea that Jeremy came up with. Once again, this is something that I want to present, so you have time to think about that, if that's the direction we want to go with the district or not, and this will be an agenda item for the December meeting. Another agenda item for the December meeting, we have a proposal that is included in your packet from Sheila Whip. This is something the district has done in the past. That would be that we send an administrative rep on the band trip this summer. They've talked to Katie, and Katie has agreed to be that administrative designee. As you can see, you got the costs there in the third paragraph down. So estimated cost for the trip would be $1,350. And then we would have an administrator there on site in case not that we anticipate any issues would arise, but it's always nice just to have that person there to be able to handle those types of things if something does present itself. And that'll be an action item for the December meeting as well. And then final item for me, Seth is here, gonna give us a tech update on a few items that he has from his side of things. Any questions for me before Seth takes it away?
Thanks, Jake.
The main thing I want to talk to you about is the TriCaster situation. The device I use to live stream to the board meetings, to the YouTube, and games when I need to died on me.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, well, it's funny because everything looks like, I streamed the last Florence Center game, not the postseason one, but the last regular season one. And it was fine, and then I brought it in that next Wednesday for the board meeting. And everything looks fine, it sets up, and as soon as I hit go live to YouTube, it gives me a message on YouTube that says stream bitrate is too low. And it's just a blank screen. So that was what happened on that board meeting last month. And then also happened at the football game then. So I was up in the crow's nest at that football game, and I actually completely restored the TriCaster to factory settings and reset up everything, and I did the exact same thing. So I did call TriCaster and found out that this device that I have is the first of 2019, I think in summer 2019. Unbeknownst to me at the time, the last date of sales on it was September of 2019. And then the end of life support on them for 2 years after the end of sale date, which was last fall. So they wouldn't do anything to troubleshoot it, beyond some peripheral septic use that I tried. So there are a few options I was looking at if, for if you want to replace this. And one would be the actual new version of what I had, a newer TriCaster. It's still a little mini, all the old hardware works on it that I haven't, accessories that went with the original. All that stuff still works. And that quote is the one that is, let's see which one I got here, the $74.95 one. 75.74, I guess, with shipping. And the deal with that one would be, the same equipment I know I'm doing with it to get a new version of it. They do have support options that I would probably look into on that black page on the end. That would give me a little more flexibility. Had I had that support with this one, I might have been able to get a replacement. And it extends out to 3 years, and we're kind of right on the fringe of that, so it might not help anyway with this one. They would offer me a $1,500 trade-in for the current TriCaster, which is, I guess, better than a red hot poker. The guy that sold me the original TriCaster is the one that provided me these 2 quotes. He mentioned this other one to me, which I had not heard of. It's an Epiphan Pearl 2. It's the same kind of device. It's a all-in-one unit that's got a little touchscreen on it, and it has kind of the same inputs, does the same encoding. Both these devices are a little higher end than something you need just to stream to YouTube. The thought behind it is they have a lot of production capabilities, so if we ever got kids interested in actually doing something with video production, whether it be the games that they want to commentate and add in, you can do multi-camera support for multiple sources, add in whatever in terms of audio. And then it has the ability to do little slides or commercials or things like that. So if we ever had interest in that, then we'd have the hardware needed to do that. So I watched a 5-minute video on how this thing worked, and it seemed pretty similar to what I had. The cost up front is a little cheaper, and we have support options that are listed on the back too, which I believe, I don't know if it has the prices on here, does it? I have the prices on those. I think they're in the ballpark, but I have them in an email, I guess it wasn't on a quote, but a couple thousand, so cost-wise, it's gonna kind of be a wash if you decide either one of these. The third option is NewTek does have some partners that they work with that will repair out of warranty or end-of-life hardware. I haven't called any of those, mainly because I don't know what the problem is with this one, I don't know what the cost would be, and then you get it fixed, you spend a couple $1,000 and you have a 3-year-old thing still that could break the next day again, so. That's a third option. I don't know that would be my preference overall. And then the final one would be either look at something much simpler. I haven't really investigated other encoding options, something that might be a little cheaper, just to stream to YouTube, or do nothing at all. And say we're just not gonna live stream that way anymore. We still have the Pixelot cameras, and we could explore other avenues that way, so. That's kind of where I'm sitting with it as far as I got to this point, so I just wanted to see what your thoughts were, or how you felt about any of that stuff.
That's 75.74, that's already taken into account the $1,500 trade-in.
I believe so, because it's $89.95 if you look on that third page, the actual cost, and that's what I paid for the original one, was about $9,000. So the $1,500 trade-in is what brings it down to that 75.74 shipping.
I'll just say that I know I've had a lot of comments that it's much better to watch on through our YouTube than our other garbage that we have, so.
I would agree, with a couple exceptions. I mean, football games, the camera out there just, the Pixelots in general don't do a great job with football because they have a tendency to pick up. And you even saw this one when he went up to, if you watched the Elkton game, it got stuck on cheerleaders dancing around down here, so it kept backing out, and it looked like you were in, North Dakota watching the game from there, because it was zoomed out so far. So it just doesn't do as well with those, and you know, for the home games we have, I'm happy to do that. The home games in here, you have to have a person to set up that TriCaster and everything to stream it to YouTube and run the camera, or it ends up in a fixed position. I have had a couple emails of, why is the camera always there, and, you know, we only see this side, and can you move to the other end, and we don't have a lot of flexibility with that because the elevator's on the other end and all my connections. I was basically piggybacking off the video that goes to these TVs out here and streaming that to YouTube, so I kinda have to be on that end. And like I said, I'm here for a lot of the games, I don't mind doing that, but at some point, if we're talking 30, 40, 50 games a year, I'm not terribly interested in doing that myself for charity. So, I don't have a problem doing it, but if we would go that route,
Be curious to see if there's any students that.
Right, I was just gonna say.
you know,
Might want to get into.
I will tell you, since I've been here in 2005, the eternal struggle is we can barely get kids that'll take the camera and go and fill the game at away events. Because frankly, most of them are in the events.
Right.
You know, the kids that would be capable of doing that stuff. And again, yeah, there's probably one or two here that can find to do it, but that's the exact
Different at
reason
home
we got
games,
the.
for home games and away games, you know, at least you're here in Freeman, that, you know, might be
Yeah.
a chance for that student to come and watch the game as well that way, you know, to they'll
I-
have that opportunity.
Totally agree with you, but again, I will just tell you, my experience since the beginning has been that's exactly why we got Pixelots, because we couldn't find anybody to do the run cameras.
Do you have any idea what like a comparable piece would be that isn't of the high end to do all the extra stuff that we?
I haven't really looked at it, so I'd just be guessing. I think there, you know, there's some that are actually software encoders. You've got software and just a real simple where you plug in a camera and run it out to the internet. If I had to make a guess, I'd say it'd probably still be $2,000 or $3,000. And I don't know, I don't know for sure what capabilities that have, can it tie into the, you know, like we have in here. I'd have to do a little more looking at that, I just haven't had a chance. These quotes I just got this morning, so I just haven't made it down that route. But I can do that.
I think so many other schools are live streaming, I think, I don't really see it as an option to just not provide that anymore.
I would agree 100%.
Yeah. Especially we've got a lot of, you know, elderly folks too that, you know, maybe can't make it to the, you know, the game, but still
Yeah.
wanna watch, so I like
Current-
providing that service.
Currently, the Pixelot camera is working. It's worked for the last few junior high games and volleyball games I've done here, and it's been fine. They sent me, this is the third, the VPU is that computer in the back closet that runs the camera. I'm on my third one this year, and they finally sent me a brand new one after the first two replacements, so. And again, you have to have a subscription for it to watch it live. You can watch the uploaded VODs after the fact for free, but the people that I've talked to that have subscriptions, they like it because then they can watch a lot of the away games for free too, in places that have Pixelots. Used to be most of the schools, I don't really know what that percentage is at this point.
Sure.
But for the time being, it's there, it works, and it's in place, so that's something.
What's the lifespan on that system?
I don't know that either, really. Obviously, the VPU, I would say, is about 3 or 4 years since that's been replaced. The VPU is just a HP workstation, it's a computer, and generally speaking, I recycle everything after 3 to 5 years. The camera, there's no real moving parts on it, it's just 2 fixed cameras and then it's software that tracks. So, yeah, and you know, a lot of schools are going either with that or Huddle makes a similar camera that will auto track like that, and then it uploads to Huddle. I got a quote on that last year, and it was, I mean, the upfront cost was $12,000 probably for the hardware and the first year subscription, and then you're paying annually as part of your Huddle contract, which we have. So that would be a little easier on coaches, because it'll upload right into their Huddle accounts too. So that, and then the other thing that a lot of districts use is Live Ticket. And with them, they provide the hardware, but again, you have to, they say they'll provide the people to run the camera and do commentary. I don't know to what extent that's accurate or not,
Right.
whether they do or not. I haven't really talked to any districts that have had, whether that happens or not in their districts with the Live Ticket, but I know a lot of schools are on that too. And those stream from the hardware, and it'll go on the Live Ticket channel, but it also has an actual YouTube link you can get to on those.
about it being on Golden West, so people can watch it on TV. Can you tell me how that works?
So, a lot of towns, it's sort of whoever got in with the cable company in town is sort of who runs the channel. So a lot of towns, it ended up being the school that sort of hopped on board first with that, and they kind of have the setup in their district or in their buildings for uploading to that. In Freeman, it's the city that has it. So the city has some set up down, I don't actually know where it is exactly.
City Hall.
It's in City Hall, and it's a computer there. So they could easily pick up a feed from us on that, but again, it'd be somebody going down there and either clicking on a YouTube link that we provide and then it uploads and goes on their channel, or the city buys a Pixel Out subscription, you know, some way like that. I don't know a way to stream it directly out of our facility right onto their channel, but I haven't really talked to them about that either. I briefly, I think, talked to somebody at Golden West about it, and they, yeah, it's kind of that deal where you'd have to go and, so, it's possible, I think, I don't know really the details without getting into it a little bit more.
Is there a cost for that?
I don't think so, I mean, beyond the equipment you use to do the streaming. I suspect we'd still have to have some kind of encoder for that, to be able to stream to an internet source that they could pick up on the system in City Hall. Yeah, kind of guessing there on that, so. And obviously, the main thing for streaming would be sporting events, but it also is the board meetings if you wanna continue doing that. This is just recording, and then I'll upload it to YouTube after the fact, so it'll be up on there, so people can watch it, but it just won't be live.
Gotcha.
So that's always an option in that way too, but.
I'm kinda interested to know, I don't like Bethany Church Sunday morning, that gets on the local, so there's a way to do it.
Is Charlie, is he at that?
I can find out, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice, like Christmas concerts and stuff like that, you know, but if we figure that out,
Oh,
maybe
that
the
would be
capability
nice.
to put board meetings, sporting events on local cable access, you know.
Yeah,
think
I mean, I have no
concerts and all that
problem
stuff.
putting it there, I just don't know
And,
quite the mechanism they use, I can talk to somebody there too,
but, yeah, I don't know how it's done, but I just know it's done, so.
yeah.
A Golden West person told me it was very simple to do.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard, like I said, I just don't know if it requires somebody to manually do it, or if there's some way to automate it, that's all I really don't know.
I guess at this point, what I would say is maybe let's do a little more homework on that, see what it takes to, you know, I mean, if we commit to this piece here and we don't actually need it, you know, to do through Golden West, which we might, but, you know, why commit to this right now when there's other options out there and
Yeah, I
come back next month?
got no problem committing to nothing, because
Right.
it's just more work for me.
Right.
So, you know, I'm just kinda shooting you the options here, so I can talk to somebody at Golden West or over Bethany and see what they're, you know, and like I said, you still need some equipment, obviously, to record
Right.
and do all
No,
that
I
stuff.
understand that,
I
yeah.
just don't know if it needs an encoder beyond that, or
Right.
how it gets to them.
I think we're pretty good with making an investment, it's just what we invested, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, what works?
yeah, like I
best
said,
for the most
until the
people.
TriCaster stopped working, I thought it was great. I mean, it was, you plug it in, you set up the stream, turn it on, it works. And I suspect both these would be like that too, when, you know, they're functional, so. I can look into and see what the cost would be on repair on that, I suppose, just to see if there's an option, because as far as I know, there's like, can't even major, it boots up and it looks like everything's working, it just doesn't work at the end of the day. So,
Or if there's even a, less option out variant of it.
for these pieces of hardware, not so much, cause they're kind of aimed at that target audience in terms of production video stuff. There are a couple mini versions that are, they would work, for simple stuff, but the money you spend on those, if you're gonna get something just to straight do one single stream to YouTube, I'd probably be looking at a different model of hardware, and I can look into that stuff too. These would be just the ones that give you flexibility to do lots of other stuff, multiple video feeds, multiple audio feeds, and some of those smaller ones, you just basically are limited to a single stream, single camera, maybe not the audio feeds you need.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But I'll I just haven't had time to sit down and look at many other things, so there might be something out there. You just, kinda in the circles you run, you see, most people have something like a TriCaster, and like that's what Casto they use to stream all their football games, and most of the other techos that are either running either an automated system or something similar to one of these things, so that's just sort of what, like seeing the circles you're in.
Yeah, I agree with Cody, get some more information and then, yeah, look at all of it.
So in the interim, like I said, the camera will stream any events in the high school gym, and for these, we can just record and upload it after the fact, so we figured something out. Just so people are aware that's what's happening.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Yep.
I think that's it for the superintendent update. All right, next item on the agenda, unfinished business. I don't have any. Next item on the agenda, new business. Number one, the school board will hear an update from the Growing Dream staff.
I'm Chris Sweeter, so here's a face to the name that you've been hearing tonight. So I'm on the I'm on the Growing Dreams board, and then this is Hannah, she's our new executive director. As far as updates, so the process to move out of this building is we had to go get blueprints of the church, submit them to the state, and then it takes them 45 days to review it. So currently we're at the end mark of that to get into the church. I visited with the lady who's assigned to our region, and it sounds like we have to do some updates to like the fire safety system, and it's at the tail end of its review. However, we are pursuing a more permanent location, so we're kind of starting that process over. So once those blueprints are done, then we'll have to go through another 45-day review. So as of right now, I'd say we're fine as far as like being out of here in time, but we are pursuing that more permanent location rather than the church, so.
Sounds great. I don't have any questions, anybody else? All right, thank you so much for that update. Okay, next item on the agenda, an update from the Facilities and Grounds Committee.
Not a lot to report. There's a couple pieces of glass coming in the run back order for the rest of the room, that'll be there next week, and then rooftop unit's still tracking for February delivery, and we'll swap that out when it gets here, but that's all I really have.
for one day for that?
No. Probably coldest
day in February?
Yep.
Okay.
She'll borrow some snow pants to anybody wrestling with.
All right, next item on the agenda is, adoption of the following policies. I am not going to read through those yet. Is there any discussion around those from the policy committee?
A few of them.
Okay.
Wait now,
So this is
this is the last one.
Oh, this is the last one, that's right, I was thinking of number 4, my apologies. Okay, I will read through all of them. Will require a motion to approve adoption of the following policies: Section G, description, personnel goals, general reference policy, equal opportunity employment, veterans preference, staff ethics, staff conflict of interest, staff conduct, freedom of expression, search and seizure, employee use of networking sites, staff health and safety, employee communicable diseases guidelines, regulations, and use of alcohol, drugs, and controlled substances. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Carissa, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cody Spangler, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is an update from the Policy Review Committee, and first reading of those policies.
Before Chris and Cody take it away here, I included in your package all the policy that are listed under 4. I don't have a comparison between the sample policy or the model policy from the ASBSD and our current policy. So in the packets that you have, if it has the flyers, F, the Freeman F in the upper left corner, that's currently a policy that we have in place. That's up for review, and if it has the ASBSD stamp at the top, that would be a policy that currently we do not have in place. So policy policy GCA would be the last one, would be, last framing policy. The next policy after that one would be one of the model ASBSD policies that currently we do not have in place. So that's something that over the first reading, second reading, and then before approval, we would need to decide if that's something that we would want to or have interest in adopting as a school board. I think there's 26 total policies in this chunk of review, and there was 14 that currently are not adopted as the school board policy. So quite a few that we do not currently have on our district policy.
Chris and Cody, you wanna take it away?
I guess notes wise, everything I have until we get to the GBI, the staff gifts and solicitations was the one that I have notes that we are in disagreement and not in favor of adopting.
Okay.
It just put a lot of seemingly unnecessary restrictions on gifts for students and teachers and parents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I go all the way back down to GCBCC, this tax sheltered annuity program. At least from conversations, I don't think we were against it per se, as it wasn't at least necessary at this time to adopt an annuity program. And then I believe Mr. TG was gonna inquire potentially at some point if there was some interest by the staff to have something like that, but currently not necessary. And then down to GCBDD, the military leave policy was essentially their job waits for them when they get back, and there was 3 options that they gave us a choice or suggested we choose from as far as any form of compensation while they're deployed. And we discussed that we would offer no additional finances while they're being employed full-time and employed.
Right, because that's not required.
What about benefits?
I believe that they'd still be entitled to all the regular benefits. The only thing that was, we would fully adopt of it, but the 3 options they required,
Right.
we chose the no additional compensation of it.
Right, the
Option
option 3. Okay.
And then GCBE, feel free to jump in at any time, Chris.
No, you're good.
Vacation holidays and the professional staff. I thought from discussions, and took this solely on advice because I have no idea. But essentially that was to be left up for contract negotiations and not necessarily policy. But it seemed like it was more geared towards 12-month employees.
Right. 1 to 4 years after 5 years. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
And then GCD professional staff hiring, I think that was about if they lived outside the radius, right? And we didn't want to.
I think that's
That was,
residency
residency
requirements for staff, GCDA.
Okay, yes, that's the one where I'm on, sorry. So the ones in between we're good with, and then that residency, we decided, we don't want to adopt that because, you know, we don't wanna restrict people to having to live close by, because they're not knocking down the doors to get in here the way it is.
Right.
Same with at the clinic and anywhere else, if anybody knows any nurses.
Right.
Criminal background checks, we do them here, we didn't feel we needed to adopt the actual policy because it was just a lot of wording and unnecessary verbiage probably that we don't have to have.
Because we already have another policy in place that covers that, it's a little bit more concise, or?
Practice or policy, but there's already,
Gotcha, I was just curious, yeah, the difference.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so,
it's already mandated background checks and it
oh
was
yeah,
literal pages and pages.
Yeah, it's a really long one. Mhm.
yeah, long.
We read it, it was.
Right.
And that's it,
Okay,
for recommendations.
thanks for doing that. That's really helpful.
So yeah, outside of those, I guess we're in favor of adopting the rest.
And this will serve as the first reading of those policies.
Question for the board, so after the first reading, would you like me to strike through, eliminate the policies that have been recommended for us not to adopt prior to the second reading? So we filter some of them out, or would you
That'd be
like to add?
fantastic,
Mhm.
just not have those.
Mhm. I think that's reasonable. Yep, because we can always, I mean, if anyone is in disagreement, we can always revisit that then at the future meeting, but I think that that sounds great. Excellent, okay. Next item on the agenda is executive session. Will require a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2 parentheses 1. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Cody Franzen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries in executive session, 7:46.
Have a good night, Shane.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shane.
I didn't know that everybody was looking for coats.
I mean,
I have a bunch of coats that little fussy butts won't wear.